By now, you might be wondering, if stars were born individually, how did entire galaxies come into existence? The universe had finally found its light. But light alone wasn't enough. The stars needed a place to call home, and over millions of years, gravity began building the universe's very first cities, the galaxies. Welcome back to Chronoverse. In our last episode, we witnessed the birth of the very first stars. After millions of years of darkness, the universe finally lit up. But those first stars were scattered across an unimaginably vast universe. They were like tiny campfires burning in an endless desert, beautiful, yet completely isolated. At first, it seemed as though the universe would remain this way forever. But gravity had other plans. Let's say you are looking across an ocean at night. Far in the distance, you notice a few tiny boats, each carrying a single lantern, each appearing as a tiny spark in an endless sea of darkness. That was the young universe. The first stars weren't organized into galaxies. They simply existed wherever gravity had managed to create them. Some were closer together, others were separated by millions of light years. To us, it might have looked random, but the universe was already following its oldest law, gravity. And gravity has a way of bringing everything together. Gravity never takes a break. Even after creating the first stars, it continued pulling everything together. Stars attracted nearby stars. Gas clouds attracted other gas clouds. Invisible clouds of dark matter pulled everything even more strongly. Imagine sprinkling tiny magnets across a large table. At first, they're far apart, but slowly, they begin drifting toward one another. Eventually, small groups become larger groups. The universe was doing something remarkably similar, except instead of magnets, gravity was gathering stars across millions of light years. There was another player in this story, one we still cannot see: dark matter. Despite its name, dark matter isn't simply ordinary matter hiding in darkness. It doesn't emit light. It doesn't reflect light. Scientists have never directly observed it. In fact, dark matter makes up roughly 85% of all matter in the universe. We're basically living in a universe we can barely see. So, how do we know it exists? Because of gravity. Imagine watching leaves blowing across a field. You can't see the wind, but by watching the leaves move, you know the wind is there. Dark matter is much like that invisible wind. We can't see it, but we can see how its gravity shapes the universe. As millions of years passed, groups of stars became larger. More stars formed. Gas continued falling inward. Astronomers call these growing structures protogalaxies. Think about rolling a small snowball down a snowy hill. At first, it's barely bigger than your hand, but as it rolls, more snow sticks to it. It grows larger and larger, until it becomes something enormous. Protogalaxies grew in much the same way. They pulled in more stars, more gas, and more matter, becoming larger with every passing million years. The young universe wasn't peaceful. Galaxies constantly drifted toward one another. Eventually, many of them collided. Now you might imagine a massive cosmic explosion, but galaxy collisions are surprisingly gentle. Here's why. The distance between stars is so enormous that direct collisions are incredibly rare. Instead of crashing into one another, they simply pass by, while gravity gradually reshapes both the galaxies. Think of two clouds of smoke drifting toward each other. They don't collide like solid objects. Instead, they slowly blend together. Their shapes change, and together, they become something much larger. Every collision made galaxies richer, more massive, and more beautiful. Over time, the universe had changed dramatically. The lonely stars of the early cosmos had become enormous collections containing millions of stars. The first true galaxies had emerged. Some were small. Others continued growing into giant spiral and elliptical galaxies. Each one became a cosmic neighborhood filled with stars. These galaxies would eventually become the building blocks of the modern universe. Among them would one day be our own home, the Milky Way. But that chapter of our story was still billions of years away. As galaxies continued growing, gravity concentrated more and more matter toward their centers. Gas, dust, entire stars. Everything slowly spiraled inward. Something extraordinary was beginning to form, something so powerful it would eventually outshine entire galaxies. But that is a story for another time. The universe had entered a new era. What began as scattered stars had become magnificent islands of light stretching across the cosmos. The first galaxies. They would become the homes of future stars, future planets, and life itself. But hidden deep inside many of these galaxies, a mystery was quietly growing, one that astronomers are still studying today. In the next episode of Chronoverse, we'll uncover the incredible story of quasars, the brightest objects the universe has ever known. Until then, our journey through time continues.